Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching NDTV. Call it a copycat move or just copy-paste diplomacy. Pakistan will also send high-level diplomatic delegations to important world capitals to counter India's diplomatic efforts. Remember, India's entire political class has come together and multi-party delegations are being sent out to different countries, starting tomorrow to present India's case with respect to Operation Sindoor. Now, former Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Bilawal Bhutto, will be heading this delegation that is being sent by Pakistan. He recently gave a speech questioning Operation Sindoor, which raised questions on his own understanding of foreign policy and Indo-Pak tensions. Experts claim that Bilawal Bhutto is being used as a pawn by Pakistani military establishment to deflect attention, craft a softer projection of Pakistan abroad. But countries across the world, including the US in the past, have also flagged Pakistan's sponsor of terror. When you listen to Bilawal Bhutto's speeches, one does wonder how does India respond to such a naive, power-obsessed and lacking seriousness, misleading propaganda about India. Important partners such as Saudi Arabia too have toned down their positions on matters such as Kashmir, which has been a setback to Pakistan. In the face of all of this, how will Pakistan's counter-diplomatic offensive against India work, and what should India do to prepare itself for that? Today, BJP MP Jay Panda, who's also the party's national vice president, and he's leading an important delegation to Saudi Arabia and other countries in West Asia, spoke to NDTV exactly on this, and this is what he said. Talking about perspectives and narratives, Bilawal Bhutto is also going to lead delegations from the Pakistani side. Do you think that's going to make a difference when it comes to how the world sees Pakistan?
You know, I have interacted with many Pakistani leaders, including former prime ministers. I've never interacted with Bilawal Bhutto. He's a young man. Recently, some of his videos have been doing the rounds. The speech that he made in the Pakistan National Assembly was quite childish. I think even Pakistanis are poking fun at it. But there's another video of him dancing that's also gone viral, and I think he's better at that. And that's probably something that he should concentrate on rather than take the message out. Because, you know, he's a man, just apart from having studied in England, he's not able to articulate the same system that killed his mother. He's not able to speak out about it. What is he going to say when people ask him that you have a track record in Pakistan? You sheltered Osama bin Laden. You are today openly sheltering UN-sanctioned terrorists. Now, I think he should stick to dancing.
Well, BJP MP Jay Panda, they're saying that Bilawal Bhutto has not been able to call out a system that killed his own mother, a country that is known to have shielded terrorists in the past. Bilawal Bhutto needs to question who was responsible for his mother's death, emphasizing that she was killed by homegrown terrorists. Former Pakistani Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto was assassinated on the 27th of December 2007 in Rawalpindi, Pakistan. As with regard to the video of the dance that Jay Panda is talking about, it's been viral on social media, but many fact checkers have also said that it's not Bilawal Bhutto but a Pakistan-based model who's seen dancing in it. But the moot point here is the political leadership in Pakistan that is often found wanting of what it takes to take on terror. Let me bring in my colleague Maria Shakil here. Maria, how do we see this move by Pakistan to imitate India in sending out delegations abroad? It's clear that this is a battle of perceptions, and Pakistan also wants to control the global perception battle on this.
Yes, Vasudha, perhaps on expected lines, but if you look at the sheer, vastness which will be covered by the 7 delegations which have been sent, which will be sent from India. In fact, there are 2 delegations which are embarking on their journey tomorrow onwards. So the messaging is that this is an all-party delegation. It's not just about one person who is being, who will try and put forth the view of Pakistan. This is the entire united India, the Indian political class which is going ahead. Vasudha, there are several war experts and defense analysts who are not based in India. They are independent observers, neutral observers based in different parts of the world who are of the opinion that Operation Sindoor was a decisive strategic success for India. And hence, for Bilawal Bhutto or any of the leaders in Pakistan to counter it may be clearly something churlish, but they will not be able to do much is the sense that the Indian leadership certainly here has, that they have put out all the video evidence, they have put out all the evidence before the world, for the world to see as to what India did post Pahalgam. And when Operation Sindoor Part 1 and Part 3 was carried out, it not only went right inside and first destroyed the terror camps and then went ahead and also destroyed the military air bases. And it is in many ways, Pakistan has gone ahead and accepted that there has been destruction, a significant amount of destruction on Pakistani side, and that is the reason why DGMO, talks were initiated, which was sought first by Pakistanis.
Right. Thank you, Maria Shakil, for joining us with those very important details. Clearly, there's a distinction between what Pakistan is doing and what India intends to do. Dr. Tara Karta, who is former Director, National Security Council Secretariat, joins us. We also have Ramachalani, Strategic Affairs Expert. Thank you both of you for joining me on this broadcast. We also have Prabhu Dayal, who is former ambassador, and DP Srivastav, who's also a former Indian ambassador, will also be joining us. Thank you all of you for joining me on this broadcast. Tara Karta, to you first. How do you see the distinction between what India is doing and what Pakistan is doing? Because this is not the first time that Pakistan is imitating India. We also saw Shahbaz Sharif go to a base station, air base station. This was in some ways imitating or copying what Prime Minister Narendra Modi did. Clearly, there is a certain sense of copycat diplomacy that's playing out. How is India, or how is the world going to look at what Pakistan is doing with respect to sending out these delegations immediately after India announced them?
I like the word copycat diplomacy. That I think pretty much describes the whole thing. But yeah, here we've got a all-party delegation. We've got a multi-religious delegation, and all of them going out to talk about this, which is, this is pretty big, right? And I certainly don't envy poor Bilawal Bhutto's job. It's going to be terribly difficult for him to defend what has been put up. Apart from the satellite imagery, there is enough now data being put publicly by the armed forces. It's not just the government who's saying we've done this, X, Y, Z, and Z. But apart from that, if I can just offer a little bit of, not criticism, but a little point, there is a lot more that Pakistanis are doing, which we have sort of taken our eye off the ball. I'm giving you just one instance. I think in March this year, Spain busted a whole bunch of Pakistanis who were doing a lot of, illegal indoctrination. This included a bunch of women, right, who were indoctrinating people into jihad.
Right.
In Germany, you've had arrests. In Italy, you've had arrests. Has any of this been come out? Has anybody sort of collated this data and put it out to say, apart from your case is against terrorism. The Operation Sindoor is a reaction against terrorism. And for some reason, Pakistan is not mentioned anywhere anymore as a terrorist state. Look at the UN documents. No mention of Pakistan. So I think we also need to, I'm very glad these delegations are going out, but we also need to get our data together on this.
Right. Brahmachalane, after India suspended the IWT, which we've discussed many times with you, PPP chairperson Bilawal Bhutto declared that the Indus is ours and it will remain ours, either or our water will flow through this or there'll be blood. That's what he said. And this is a man who's Oxford educated. He is a political dynast, third generation leader, political leader, also the face of Pakistan's diplomatic outreach now. But clearly somebody whose speeches have more drama. How seriously does the world take him? And what does this mean for India that he is going to be the face of Pakistan's diplomatic outreach globally?
He represents the establishment, which means he echoes the military's viewpoint. As far as the Indus Waters Treaty is concerned, it should be clear that India has not exercised its legal rights under international law. It has neither suspended nor withdrawn from the Indus Waters Treaty. It has taken a political decision to keep the treaty in abeyance. That's a term not defined in international law, nor has India spelled out what keeping a treaty in abeyance means in practice. It's a political decision, as India has said, that the treaty's pause will be lifted once Pakistan verifiably ends cross-border terrorism. So it's a political decision, not a legal decision. But I think as far as Pakistan is concerned, we shouldn't forget that Pakistan was founded on enmity towards secular democratic India. It still defines itself by what it is against, namely India, rather than what it is for. It is not just against India, but also against what India stands for, including secularism and pluralism.
Right.
But I think the bigger question that we need to ask ourselves in the context of India sending teams of MPs abroad is India trying to shut the stable door after the horse has bolted? Because India had a chance to frame Operation Sindoor as a justified act of self-defense after enduring decades of Pakistani cross-border terrorism. But if you look at global media coverage on Operation Sindoor, especially the 3 days of India's military operations, all you get from international media coverage, and it's not just American media or Western media, it's international media, even media in Asia, for example, in Japan, in Southeast Asia, the headlines are about escalation risks, nuclear dangers, civilian casualties, often echoing Pakistani claims,
Right.
but no reference to the core issue of cross-border terrorism.
Right.
Is it because India reacted too slowly? Did India let others, especially Pakistan, frame India as the aggressor in global media coverage? These are questions that we shouldn't ignore.
Right. That's a very important point. Ambassador Srivastava, would you like to answer that? Because, does India have to work harder when it comes to putting forward its case against Pakistan? Do you think that these diplomatic efforts need a lot more preparation, a lot more offensive? Because there are global media organizations which have supported Pakistan. Of course, there are organizations which have also been talking about what India did. But clearly, do you think that there needs to be far more aggression when it comes to India's diplomatic offensive?
There are two things. I welcome the decision to send out the delegations at political level, all parties' delegations, because it will show that this is not a partisan issue. There's a national consensus behind fight against terrorism. The Pakistani narrative has been that this reflects Prime Minister Modi's agenda. There's no such thing. Country is united, and this is what the delegation's visit will underline. The second issue about terrorism, and I have dealt with this issue for 8 long years as Director and Joint Secretary UN. I was a nodal officer. I drafted the Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism. This is a highly politicized issue, and unfortunately, the West has followed double standards. So where it came to Western standards, Western interests, for instance, the action following 9/11, Article 5 of NATO was invoked even before the identity of the aggressor was known. On the other hand, when it comes to Indian interests, and we have suffered, this is not the first time, we have suffered cross-border terrorism sponsored by Pakistan since the 80s, there's always hesitation. I will give you one example, and it's a major example, and I think the international community will pay a very heavy price of this omission. When International Criminal Court statute was being negotiated, we had pressed very hard that terrorism should be included as a crime against humanity. This was rejected. This is in 1999. This is 2 years before 9/11. And after 9/11, the situation changed completely. And it changed again once, the Western interests were taken care of. Now, the other side of this issue is the position of some of our Arab friends. And there's a deliberate or conscious ignoring of the danger represented by terrorism. So this is something which they have to be sensitized. And incidentally, all these countries have very strong domestic legislation against terrorism.
Right.
And in terms of domestic legislation, they make no distinction between the terrorists and the freedom fighter.
Okay.
Anyone who breaks the country's laws is, dubbed as a terrorist and treated harshly.
Right.
But at international level, again, there's a double standard.
So there
but
is a
this is a long
the need
fight.
is also to ensure that there is far more seriousness in the world when it comes to India's position on terror. That's very well said. Also, Ambassador Dayal, I wanted to touch upon what Mr. Brahmachalani was also talking about. When it comes to this anti-India rhetoric, there are also people who say that there are political leaders in Pakistan who have claimed that Bilawal Bhutto is speaking the language of the Punjabi army and establishment. There are several parts of Pakistan. There are people who say that he's also being lured with aspirations of power. There is, of course, Balochistan. There is also, the Sindh province that's also fighting for its own interests. How do you see this anti-India rhetoric being reflected in several parts of Pakistan, or do you think that this is something that is limited to the military elite and the political elite, and how is that going to reflect in this global diplomatic outreach that Pakistan is planning?
Well, let me begin by saying that the entire world knows that Pakistan is not a democracy, and that what matters in Pakistan is the deep state. And the deep state comprises the army and the intelligence wing, the ISI. And whoever pleases the deep state is chosen to represent the military regime. Really speaking, a delegation of politicians from Pakistan is not taken very seriously, particularly by the democratic world, because everybody knows who calls the shots in Pakistan. If you speak the language which the military junta likes, then you can curry favor with them and you can be appointed to posts which are important. But if you rub them the wrong way, as Imran Khan did, then you end up in jail, and there is absolutely no hope of anybody being able to speak a narrative other than what the army wants. So Bilawal Bhutto, if he is saying things which appear to be in line with what the army wants, then naturally this is the state of play in Pakistan. Now, Mr. Brahmachalani mentioned that the narrative in the Western press seems to be favoring the Pakistani viewpoint, and that perhaps we were not quick enough in presenting our point of view. Now, the Western narrative is always based on their interests. All these newspapers, Washington Post, New York Times, and incidentally, I interacted with their editorial people very closely during my 4.5-year term in the United States. They sing the tune very often what the establishment wants. Now, there is no doubt that the United States was concerned that the India-Pak confrontation could escalate. Right. And there were fears it could escalate to dangerously nuclear levels. Nobody wanted that. But nonetheless, if you look at the Western media and its coverage now, you will find that there is increasing belief in the Indian narrative that we carried out the Operation Sindoor as an attack against terrorism. This aspect is finding sympathy, echoes of agreement in many sections of the Western media. Of course, not all sections, because there are media narratives and media narratives. But nonetheless, the Pakistani point of view that it was not responsible for the escalation is being negated in many sections, because there are writers who are saying that Pakistan should have just let things be instead of trying to escalate, because what happened was that it was hurt bitterly. Everybody knows that the Pakistani DGMO sought the ceasefire. And why did he do that? Because Pakistan was badly bruised, badly hurt by the strikes which we launched against it. So, 3 quick points. Firstly, Pakistan is a deep state. Nobody takes their parliamentarians seriously. Number 2, Bilawal Bhutto is a politician who doesn't matter much at all, because even within the political system, he doesn't count for much. And thirdly, Pakistan is a country where if you are a politician and you don't speak the tune of the army, you can be knocked out. This happened to Bilawal Bhutto's mother.
Okay, that's very
She was
interesting. All
killed.
3 points. Tara Karta, closing remarks from you, ma'am, because, ever since diplomacy has also become a little personality-centric, be it Prime Minister Narendra Modi or Jaishankar or Shashi Tharoor or even Bilawal Bhutto, do you think all of this leads to more meaningful dialogue when it comes to diplomacy? Does it deepen rivalries? Does it actually reflect national interest? How does it work on that global platform? Or is it something that is just interesting for viewers and for people, and hence it probably does not have that kind of diplomatic depth that we are hoping for?
Bilawal, I mean, if he's dancing well, good for him. But he speaks well. He speaks well. He carries himself well. He's a good debater. And to that extent, yes, he will probably do a good job. But the point is, I mean, you've just had, for example, I think General Munir has been given a huge welcome in the UK. So I'm not sure. I would agree with Brahma that there is like I said earlier, the fact that this is a terrorist state has been forgotten. So our narrative, we sort of, I think, dropped the ball on that narrative, on a very real narrative. To an extent, now you have to start building that up again. And we are using, I mean, very wisely, the government has chosen some very, very good people who are on this panel. And each with his own personality. I mean, I would back Shashi Tharoor against any number of Bilawal Bhuttos any day. But the fact remains, you need to push this narrative. I mean, based on facts. That's why I said at the beginning. These are facts that there are Pakistanis being arrested all over the place for terrorism activities in this. Where is all this coming out?
Okay. Brahmachalane, sir, I'm coming back to the same question of multi-party delegations. I know you've touched upon this, but aren't our multi-party delegations far more diverse, because we have women, we have people from different religions, we have people from different parties. Clearly, that is also a distinction between India and Pakistan, because the delegation that Pakistan has also put out is far more exclusionary in what it looks like.
The question we need to ask ourselves is that these rival delegations of lawmakers, will they reinforce the false equivalence between India and Pakistan? After all, Operation Sindoor, in terms of what we have heard from President Trump, he equated the victim of terror with the perpetrator, and that has been echoed across the Western world. To some extent, we are at fault. Two things are very important in shaping the international narrative. I'm not just talking of the Western narrative, the international narrative. That hasn't gone well for India for two reasons. The first is that in public diplomacy, time is of the essence. We have to make timely statements and rebuttals, because the media defines the narrative. The media doesn't wait for India's bureaucratic culture to issue statements.
Right.
Second is that it's very important for a country to send out clear and consistent messaging across all communication channels.
Right.
Clear and consistent messaging.
Right.
This has been a weak spot for India. Now just look at today's decision. Just 10 days after India halted its military operation, we are now almost returning back to business as usual with the resumption of beating retreat ceremonies at 3 border crossings. Does that send out clear and consistent messaging? At a time when we are sending out MPs, sending them abroad, we are signaling something else at home.
Right. Right, that's very interesting. Thank you all of you. We're completely out of time now. Clearly, in this copycat diplomacy move that Pakistan has taken, there will be international delegation that will be sent out by Pakistan as well. But like our panelists were also pointing out that there's a need for India to send out clear and consistent messaging, and that is what is expected from these multi-party delegations that are all set to travel to different parts of the world starting tomorrow.